I'm not sure why my chat's not working. Oh, there we go. That's weird. Hello, everyone. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. We're gonna be listening in on the developer AMA or QNA that's gonna start in about 40-ish minutes. But I thought that I would just stream a little early, you know, just to make sure that everything was ready, everything was going on. I'm debating, should I like show the Discord, or should I just kind of like leave it as gameplay? Hello, Nathan Michael. How you doing, buddy? AMA, let's go. Lone Reacted said, hey, how you doing? Human, I don't believe that you are. Says, hello, man. So it's audio like the other one? Yes. Please talk about PvP. Ask about PvP. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. Like, I'm not sure where you can actually type that. Let's see. I didn't actually see where you could ask the questions. Oh, there we go. Oh. I think they might have locked the PvP, or I mean the question chat already. I'm not too sure. But I'm waiting in a call right now to see when they hop in, see what they say. Hopefully the volume will be loud enough, because I would like to hear. I might just turn down the music on this shit over here. Audio, music, that down a little bit. By settings? I don't think that did anything. I don't hear anything. That down just a little bit. Okay, yeah. I don't want it to be too loud, because I want to be able to hear what the developers are saying. Let you guys hear that too. I'll just play a couple matches, I guess. Oh, actually, wait. Return to main menu. I don't know if I should invite people to the lobby or not, because I feel like they'd be too loud. PvP coming after PvE is done. Well, I mean, that's a pretty obvious one. Ratch says you can't type. I probably missed the question part anyway. Atomic Foxtrot says, I smell sex. Well, I mean, me and you in the bathroom, dog. We fucking destroyed it. Like, holy shit. Lone Redacted says, you would have to have had the questions in beforehand, like yesterday. Oh, see, I didn't know that. Like, I mean, I don't really have, like, any questions to, like, ask the developers, because it's just, like, you know, like, I already have, like, everything that I need from it. Now I just want to freaking see it at this point. But I'm sure there's a bunch of questions that a lot of people want to ask, because I saw the freaking thing was just filling up like crazy. You would have had to already saw that. They will host a live AMA in the supported Discord server. Yeah, I know that, but like when? Because I don't think they've actually announced that yet. Iggy says, good day. What up, Iggy? How you doing? The lobby's open if you guys want to come and join, but when the AMA starts, I need everybody to be quiet. Shut the fuck. Shut the hell up. How far off is the AMA? It starts in about 30 minutes. How's everybody doing this fine day? What's an AMA? Ask me anything, but for developers, I'm sitting in a chat right now where developers are gonna hop in and start reading off a bunch of questions that a lot of people asked. I don't know if they're gonna answer all of them, but I imagine they'll get through a majority of them, So basically, what's gonna happen here is like there's like about 124, 123 people like listening on the AMA, and it's gonna be featuring. Let's see. The AMA is about to start in about 33 minutes. They will be holding the Discord AMA. Joining us, we have 4 members of the development team: Navarro, the firearm sound designer. What do you call it? Me and that guy, we like fuck around every now and then. I can't join Poppy. Connection host is lost apparently. Oh, really? Oh, it sucks. Did I not? So yeah, Navarro, and then we got Miss M Red. I don't think I've ever seen that guy before. And then we got Rapolio, which I've seen that guy. Actually, I should probably read off what they do here. So Navarro is the firearm sound expert. Like that's the dude that has like a fuck ton of weapons at his disposal, and he's just like shooting them off and stuff. M Red is the lead level environmental artist, and he's actually doing a pretty good job so far. And then we got Rapolio, who has been with the studio for a while, concept artist, UI and graphic designer. I didn't know he did all that, but I just remember he's the one. Rapolio was the one that actually gave me this right here. He gave me the GIF thing, you know. Yo, Wiggy, what up? And then we got Dead Pixel, who is relatively new, I think, or at least this is the first time I've really seen him. UI, UX design and gameplay designer. The event will take place in the Discord AMA channel. Okay. What's this? Somebody is pinging the shit out of me. Oh. Okay. And yeah. So we're gonna have a fun time, hopefully. Ask me anything, says Ratch. What the hell? How do you say that name? Iglyph Romani? Ask me anything equals AMA. Ask me anything. Ah, thanks. Lol. Durag KKT says PvP. We shall see. Yo, Wakey, my dude, how you doing? Long time no see. The last time we saw each other, we like shot each other in the foot, and we were like, yeah, brothers till the end.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, just want to make sure.
G'day, g'day.
How you doing, my guy?
Doing pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing A-okay, just screwing around at this point. Waiting for this AMA to start. I wonder if the Wii change is using Steam Workshop to download mods basically instead of the Nexus. Did I read that right? Wii or will? W-I-L. Will make it easier and faster to download different too. Interesting. Nathan Mitchell says, ew, PvP? Hey man. I only like PvP because I want to just like blow off steam because the AI pisses me off sometimes, whether or not at specific points. And like I just want to like the other day I was trying to like beat Valley of the Dolls. I finally beat it, by the way. But holy shit, I ended up losing my entire crew to the fucking AI. Both of my guys just freaking died. That was funny. Typo on that. Oh, okay. Steam Workshop is planned. I mean, I think that's a pretty obvious one. Because, I mean, we've been able to, like, mod in the server in the game for a very long time.
Entry team, negotiations have fallen apart. Move to secure the premises. Suspects are highly volatile.
Different mods hit land or fast food. Not seeing anything. Are you seeing anything? Oh, left side. Look.
I heard something.
Pretty sure I heard a guy go left. I'm gonna toss one over there on the left side.
Drop your weapon and get your hands up! Drop your weapons.
How would you describe Rashala from Tarkov? He is a very interesting man that can take a fucking hit to the head several times.
This is talk. Copy that, entry team. Proceed with mission.
Is it clear over there?
Where's this guy go? Oh, it's on the shop.
Hey, perfect placement. I heard that Death Pixel is the one who designed the UI UX of the original Insurgency. Really? I had no idea.
Talk to entry team.
Then
Copy that,
again,
entry team. Notifying trailers.
I've heard that that's clear in here.
You know, okay.
It's been in here for well, no, it's not been
Cam
here that
Mike.
long. But the thing is that you can't open this unless you find the freaking key card, which is over here. I mean, I guess you could use C2 charges, but no. Yeah, it makes me cry in this game. This is very true. Oh. Put me down. We got a guy out in the diner area.
Suspect killed.
This is talk. Roger that, entry team. Tag him and keep moving.
Can we get uniform customized on AI? I have no idea, dude. SWAT units.
Continue with your mission.
I took 45-month break from Ron, and holy hell, it's good now.
Suspect
Talk
killed.
to element. Roger that, entry team. Tag him and keep moving.
Neo says, hi, Durag and chat. Oh my god, Neo, how long has it been? Where have you been, my guy? You're like the first mod to show up out of 10 years, man. It's like, I'm over here like banning bots and shit by myself. I'm like, where are my mods? I have like 30 mods and they're not here.
Need medics now.
Talk
Big
reporting.
lol.
Collecting evidence.
New doors on the map. New doors on existing maps threw me off, lol. AMA is about to start in about a little under 30 minutes.
Wait.
Here, okay. And this is the front door, I believe. Oh my god, I left my freaking lock gun. Alright, let's go back the other direction. How's everybody doing today?
Do you want to go out into the like main area here, or do you want to go out there?
We could go out here. Actually, let's clear out this part over here. I did see a couple of guys in there, so I'm gonna toss a couple banks.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, civilian right behind you. He just ran past us.
Hands up! Get down now. Hands up! Get down and show me your hands! This is only for right now. Everything will be okay. Talk to high ground. Roger. Trailers inbound.
Suspect DOA.
Talk reporting. Roger that, entry team. Tag him and keep moving.
And I'm so used to the freaking music, man.
Put your hands up, please. Can you put your hands up, please?
Probably an issue on your end. Yeah, most likely. Because, I mean, I have everything set correctly. You just probably need to update the game or something. Did I? Oh, I
Put
did.
your hands up, please. Arms outstretched. Get down now.
Yo, where you at,
Hands
Iggy?
up.
Oh, you're in the back.
All done. Contact is secured. Civilian is secured and ready for transport.
I'm working mostly. I have more.
Copy, entry team.
I have more time now.
Notifying
Still,
trailers.
thankfully. Where do you work, dog? This is a very tall jukebox. Is that or I'm crouching?
Yeah, that's a very big jukebox. The fuck? Aren't they usually like torso height?
Yeah. It's a big ass fucking jukebox. Holy cow. I just noticed that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have noticed if you didn't say something.
Yeah. Was this always here? I don't remember this being here. What the hell? Out of service. Alright, let's go check that back area. Is your character King or Alabama? It's he's Alabama. Oh, fucking hell. Did you get him?
Yeah, I got him.
I couldn't see him.
Yeah, he was just like head peeking.
Talk reporting. Roger that. Continue with your mission. Talk to element. Copy that. Put him on safe and let him hang. Great
Oh.
job.
Okay. Alright, 20 minutes. 20 minutes until it starts. I wonder what they're going to talk about. You excited for the AMA?
Didn't even know there was gonna be an AMA. I'm like so out of the loop on everything.
Oh. Oh, that's fine. It's going to start in like 20 minutes. I might just like completely turn off the entire audio but keep playing or something. I'm just gonna do easy missions though. Fucking, I don't want to stress myself out while I'm freaking trying to listen. What's an easy mission though? What was it? Oh no. Do that one. That's a fairly decent mission.
Oh, your push to talk stops when you're looking for a level, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's just fine. Fuck me in the ass. Fuck me. Stick it up there. Oh. Can you guys hear my chair when I move it? I need to freaking get a new one or something. If you're someone that's new to the stream, be sure to like it up so that more people can see it. Cause that's how this generally works on YouTube. I literally just woke up. I'm tired of shit.
This is talk. Entry team, suspects have taken refuge in the area and are refusing to cooperate. Move in.
You got a door open on the right.
Can you put your hands up, please? Drop it.
Drop it.
Yeah, head back there. Oh.
Hands where I can see.
fuck?
Talk reporting. Roger, entry
The
team.
suspect is expired.
Notifying medical. Talk reporting. Talk copies all. Proceed with your mission.
We've got this under control.
Are those handcuffs?
Down on your knees.
People over here, help us.
Talk to high ground. Copy that.
Police, hands up!
Please, I just want to go home.
Civilians standing by for trailers.
Boring warehouse stuff.
Roger, entry team. Great work. Keep
Does that at
going.
least pay the bills? I mean, honestly, I'd rather have a boring job than a. Well, I don't know. That's not true.
Please, over here, we need help.
I'm button.
Don't hurt me.
Okay, you know what?
Get down.
Hold on!
Over here.
Hands up now. Drop your knees.
Is the AMA gonna be recorded for?
Want to go home.
Do I have to listen to that in real time?
Civilians need to go for evac.
I have no idea.
Copy that. Trailers incoming.
We're definitely gonna listen to it in real time right now, and the stream is gonna stay up. I'll probably go back and try to put a bunch of timestamps of all the questions.
Please, over here, we need help.
Oh fuck.
Officer, I'm not-
Shit, he went outside. He's gonna come around behind us. The door we came in, I think.
Okay, I don't want any trouble.
Instead of or? Huh? Is the AMA gonna be recorded? Or do we have to listen to it in real? Well, either way, it's gonna be recorded here, or because the stream, I always save the streams to the channel. I never delete them because, you know, I never have time to like just go and cut them up and try to like put them up on the channel, and then too damn lazy for that. So, oh, not that I'm also too lazy for it, but.
There we go.
Got him.
Get on the ground now. The suspect has expired.
Talk reporting. Talk copies all. Proceed with your mission. Contact in custody.
Hands up. Get on the ground now.
Talk to entry team. Copy. Move
I'm on your left. I'm on your left.
Relax.
Put your hands up. Get down and put your hands up.
What the fuck? Go after them, not me.
Civilians standing by for
I'm an
trailers.
American citizen.
Talk to element. Roger, entry team. Great work. Keep going.
God, I hate the flashlight. It's so goddamn dim and tiny cone. I miss the old flashlight. That was the best flashlight.
Cuffed and secure. Talk to high ground. Copy that. Put him on safe and let him hang. Great job.
AMA starts in about 14 minutes. Strange how Alabama has judge voice lines instead of his own. Well, they're still working on the voice line stuff. I mean, I don't even know if they have that many voice actors. Last time I checked, they only had around 10, but that was a while ago, so they could have brought on more. Agency, yes. Yeah. Dragon Dale says, "Hey Durag." You spelled my name wrong. "How are you? Love your content. Thank you, my guy. I love you too. I'll snort cocaine with you." Woo.
Talk reporting. Entry team, you're cleared to proceed to the hostages. Exercise extreme caution.
No traps.
Oh, yeah, because that makes sense. This door's locked.
Ah. Well, actually, now I think about it. Usually, whenever I go to the store, they always have like one door locked and one door open. I don't know why. You just fucking. The fuck? That scared the bejesus out of me.
Talk to entry team.
You told
Roger
me.
that, entry team. Tag him.
The
and
fuck
keep
did this
moving.
guy come from? Oh, I see. Damn, he fucking ran over here. Side of the truck. I hope they answer my question about how to make a baby. When a mommy and a daddy get together and feel very passionate about each other. Makes no sense, but okay. There needs to be a sprint in this game. What do you think? Nah. Honestly, them taking out sprint was probably the best decision, in my opinion. Like, it made the game feel more tactical. Any traps?
No trap.
Go for it.
إخوتي الشرطة
I don't know why it sounded like I was getting shot at from the left there.
suspect down.
Talk to element. Roger that, entry team. Tag him and keep moving.
We need more weapon? Yeah, sure. I definitely like more weapon variety. My opinion. I would definitely love to see it. Anime starts in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes? 10 minutes? 10 minutes?
No trap. CV?
Copy.
Put your hands up.
Thought I saw something move on the left side. Like, holy shit. He's down. I think we might have lost a civilian on the right side, though.
Get down and show me your hand.
Hey, wait.
Suspect killed.
Talk to entry team. Affirmative, entry team.
تحرك تحرك.
Oh. Where was he? Where was he? Where was he? Yeah, I shot a civilian. God damn it.
We've got an officer.
Talk
Hands up.
to
Do it
element.
now.
Talk copies all. Proceed with your mission.
Drop your weapon. Stay still.
Go to hell, dog.
Suspect standing by for transport.
Talk reporting. Copy that. Trailers incoming.
What do you think of Gotham Knights made by the people WB games? I can't say. I've never tried. More anything Carcosa, Ron, and lore. There's been quite a bit. I'll probably make a video on it fairly soon here.
You're supposed to help
But
us.
it's called something different now.
Good to go for evac.
It's not
Reporting.
Carcosa anymore or something like that. It's Sepulcher, I think. It's funny because like after I mentioned it in a video, somebody sent me a video of himself recording it. How to actually say it. That shit was funny. That was hilarious. But I actually learned how to say it somewhat, I think.
We've got this under control.
Let go of me.
Civilian cuffed and prepped for evac.
Talk to high ground. Roger. Trailers inbound.
Without sprint, teammates rush maps and get dropped. As it. Hold on, I didn't read that right. Without sprint, teammates rush maps and get dropped as it is. Law can't imagine after sprint. I think the game would actually be better without it. I think it would definitely make the games a lot more interesting, for sure. Okay, I am missing a civilian. I think. Better I didn't tag one. But I don't remember being like, or seeing like 3 civilians
Hands
in this
up
map.
above your head.
We need more maps like the airport, school, or bank robbery. Of course, yeah. I mean, there's still a bunch of maps that we have yet to really... Like, they haven't finished the Ruby Ridgeline map, and Hospital. This is Agency. This one's not finished at all. I'm missing a civilian. I don't know where the hell he is. Yes, I like Ground Branch, but only the plane. Ground Branch has some amazing maps. The school map is planned, but I don't know about the other maps. Yeah, it's interesting because that's the one that everybody like mostly talks about, but the developers themselves don't talk about it, and I think it's mainly because it's not good press to talk about a school map. Yeah, I'm pretty sure when that level launches, the media is going to be up in arms about it. I can already tell. Gonna be like, what the fuck? The fuck is wrong with you?
Notify trailers. Civilian is DOA.
Ah,
This
goddamn.
is Talk. Roger, entry team. Notifying medical.
But there's still more civilians? I thought there was only like 3. Oh. Thought I saw someone. Smile room, decal of the painted sun over there. Oh,
We've got a dead
Talk
civilian
reporting.
here. Notify
Copy
trailers.
that. Put
Civilian
him on
is
safe and
DOA.
let him hang.
2 dead civilians. God damn it. We need something like that. The first map in SWAT 4. That would be amazing. AMA in 5 minutes. Okay, cool. D for DueRag. I fucking did it, guys. I totally didn't screw it up at all. If you're someone that's new to the chat, be sure to like it up so that more people can see it. Like it up, like it up, like it up, like it. Yo, wiggy. We need more like kill house mode with no civvies. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. When and if, yeah, no, without, yeah, without a doubt. I'm assuming you're referring to the School mission. Yeah, and if the school mission releases, it's gonna be drama. Yeah, for sure. They're gonna try and see if they can like get rid of the school level. And like I've said before, if you're going to do something on like that, then you need to make sure that you do it right, you know? Don't fuck it up. So I was like, man, Void should not have freaking responded to it, because the media is just gonna use it to fucking, you know, bullshit. DueRag, DueRag, says Razor Lyric. Roser Lyric? I never know how to say people's names. Iggy says, I don't like how many bodies are on the nightclub map. I think there's too many, and it's just tasteless. Well, I mean, that's the idea, right? I mean, when you think of a nightclub, you don't think like there's just like one or two people. You think there's supposed to be quite a bit. It'd be funny if they actually had like pole dancing animations. I would love to see it, but there's actually no poles in the freaking nightclub. But even then, I'm probably thinking of like a strip club, not a freaking nightclub.
Talk to high ground.
Disarming trap.
Entry team suspects have taken refuge and are refusing to cooperate. Move in, remember your ROE, and secure the area.
Hope they add in a DN setting. What's DN setting? So if they go, another one? Oh, okay. So if they do go through with some school map, they need to not have so many bodies. I just
Okay, when you.
I just think that they should just do it, you know, and like, and have people play the map to see if it's good or not, you know. Surprised that actually took him down. Got door open on the right.
Suspect DOA.
Oh fuck.
This is talk. Copy that, entry team. Proceed with mission.
They're actually not allowed to make.
Drop the gun.
Drop the weapon now.
They're actually not allowed to make.
Suspect killed.
Talk to element. Affirmative, entry team.
Guns in there. They're actually not allowed to make it a school map. It's gonna be a university, I think. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Which is a school, I guess, but other older students. Is there going to be a single player story, or will it be like how the game is right now, where you can choose any mission at any time? Yeah, there is definitely going to be a career mode, where you have to like. Hello?
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
Oh, the AMA started.
We're just waiting on the other two.
That confused the shit out of me. I was like, what?
It's looking very lively in the listeners. We've got a lot of listeners tapping out at 300 now.
Yeah,
Very impressive to
it's
see.
still growing.
Drop it now. Drop the weapon now. Drop the weapon now.
Slow mo's definitely gonna be needed here.
Yeah, it's not 1 minute. Bump it up as we continue to grow in listeners quite quickly.
Okay.
Already got people posting Rick rolls.
Big loof. Alright, the AMA is on and they're talking right now. I'm just gonna have Iggy playing in the background.
We got some people in the chat asking how long this is going to be, just for clarification.
Probably about roughly an hour, maybe a bit more.
Good chat in the AMA.
Depends how quickly we get through questions. Oh, there we go.
I figured it out.
Nice. Okay, so I'm assuming everyone here has read the announcements, but the purpose of this is just a quick little AMA with some of the developers. I will have them introduce themselves and what they do at Void. So we want to go ahead and start with. I'll put Rapolio on the hot seat.
Hello, I'm Rapolio. I'm a 2D artist with Void. I do concept art, graphic design, and some UI stuff. So yeah, I've been with the team since 2019.
All right, cool. Pixel?
Yeah, I'm the UI UX designer for the game. I joined about February, March last year, and just been working pretty hard. A lot of the time recently been put into the loadout stuff, so keep it going.
And Navarro?
Yeah, I'm Navarro. I do all the gun sounds for the game, firing, reloads, all that type of stuff. I joined back in about February 2021, maybe before that. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I do all the gun sound effects, reloads, everything.
And Mr. 3D.
Hello there. I'm the lead environment artist, but I also I'm kind of one of the core content creators of the environments as well. And as part of my roles, I also look after a small team of other environment artists that help me out. I also manage some of the outsourced studios who do the props and support us with that. And I collectively just work throughout the team. A lot of optimization from the visual side of things. Yeah, got my hands on a little bit of everything, I suppose.
Hey, sweet. Wow, we are almost at 400 people now. Okay, so the questions that we're asking today were all asked by the community throughout the AMA channel. They were pre-selected though. At the end, if we have time, we might select some more just from the current AMA chat, just popping up. But that'll be near the end if we do that. So I'm going to just go right ahead and jump into the questions. If everyone is ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
So, will there be pre-mission briefings where you can actually see the map, kind of draw on it, plan out, make routes?
Actually, yes. It's already being worked on, so it planned for a while now. Just trying to find the best way to do it, but ideally, it's going to be a pretty involved and just overall good system that the community I think has been looking for. I'm pretty excited about it.
It'd be very nice to be able to fully plan out what you're doing and not just go in blind.
Yeah, exactly. We're even doing things. We're going to look at it's no promises because there's a lot of things going on, at least for the first pass of it, but being able to select like actual level entry points, set different things, and if we can eventually do it, the ability to interact with the doors that be around the map. But there's we kind of want it to have sort of a realistic take, and not every situation is going to have some detailed, accurate blueprint. So, meth house or something like that could just be not saying it is, but like a drawing on a napkin. It's about trying to maintain a little bit of that realism with allowing people to still plan things out.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to kind of jump on the other side of that as well. It's like we feel that sort of it's one of the things that at the moment it's kind of the most thing that's lacking when it comes to kind of the game. Like it's a very rudimentary system of just selecting your map and then you jump in, and it's almost like one of those things where we have so much personality within the city itself. Like realistically speaking, the actual city itself is the most fleshed out character in our game. Like we want to inject as much kind of life and as much sort of like we want to make the city feel lived in, like it's a real place, even though it is effectively a fictional city. So we're going to take this opportunity when we start implementing this stuff to allow the players to kind of like really get an in-depth sort of like look at these individual places where, I'm not saying for 100% we figured all of this out exactly what we want to do, but even just to kind of like, zoom in a little bit on the map so you can see where it is in location to everything else, and having just a little bit more of a realized vision of what this kind of like map and the city can look like as you're selecting the missions, as you're planning out your routes, as you're kind of making these pre-game tactics into the levels. We feel like that's an excellent opportunity to just like bring more of that like that city personality to the player, and I think that's really important for our storyline as well.
Sweet. Does anyone else want to add on at all?
I mean, maybe Sam here. He is probably gonna be the one making the actual blueprints, the 2D images. So he's my 2D guy for the UI stuff.
It'll be interesting, I think, because SWAT 4's maps and blueprints were pretty interesting. Like they would be on like a whiteboard or like a napkin, or they would be a full-on actual blueprint. So I kind of want to have that variety as well, I think, just because it adds some interesting character to like your planning and the map itself. And it sort of prepares you for what you're going into.
Yeah,
I mean,
I remember early on when we had some ideas for like the blueprints for hotel. There was talks, because it's been like an old building that's been renovated a lot, that the blueprints wouldn't necessarily be accurate or up to date. So you might have rooms that aren't on the blueprints, or routes that are listed on the blueprints but aren't there actually anymore. Stuff like that. So you couldn't necessarily just have some one-to-one plan in the map.
yeah, like the current hotel is like under construction, so a lot of the rooms there that were from the 80s aren't there anymore, or they were being renovated completely. So, sort of that inconsistency you need to watch out for. More on hotel later, because it's probably going to change in the future, get an overhaul.
Yeah, that one's
Did
always
you
getting
fucking
overhauls.
nerdy, mate?
We'll find it. I mean, it's always beautiful. It's just a matter of how it's running and how it's playing in terms of like gameplay
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
I'm
But
not
I've seen
hearing
some pretty cool
gunshots. I'm just hearing
iterations over the
impacts.
past year and a half.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's almost like a testament to us and what we're
That one I
doing,
am.
where some of the earlier maps that we were still trying to figure stuff out on in our early stages of our sort of like development, where we've implemented all this new stuff and we've figured out and we've grown as artists and developers, and we've found what works and what doesn't work. And it's one of those things where I've worked on tons and tons of games at this point. There's usually a point where as you go through the development cycle in the game, the earlier stuff either just doesn't hold up in terms of quality, or maybe the gameplay mechanics have changed, or so I think Hotel and maybe even Port at this point as well it's kind of suffering a little bit from that. These were the first things we've done. We've figured out what we want to do with the newer maps and the newer content, and it's really exciting for us now as we're pushing newer stuff out. Like we get like more and more feedback every time we push a map out. We get so many new players playing it in different perspectives, and we learn a lot, as well as everyone getting a good game to play as well. So we're taking all this stuff that we're learning, and we're either going to try our best to implement it into the old maps, but realistically I think what's probably going to happen is we'll probably start them fresh which is kind of a bit of a scary thing, but it's one of those things where that's perfectly normal thing to do in a development game cycle. It's usually better to start fresh rather than trying to shoehorn stuff in on a already broken kind of system. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, nothing's set in stone yet. We'll see what happens. But yeah, like definitely for sure, like the older maps, hotel, farm, port, they are not up to scratch with the newer content that we're creating, and we're definitely going to address them. We honestly just can't leave them in there like the state that they're in right now, because they're so different from sort of like the newer content that we're bringing out, where it's just way more refined, it's way more polished. We've got our set of rules, we've got new gadgets and ways of playing the game that are just not in those older maps that we definitely need to bring up to current standard.
Yeah, for sure. I still miss that hotel lobby though.
Oh yeah, there's definitely parts of the hotel map which like I built sort of like 95% of it, and yeah, like it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And one thing that I really love about hotel is the fact that it is so big that you can just kind of like, if we decided to corner off certain routes depending on which mission type you're doing, and that way you kind of see all the hotel, but not all in one playthrough. Because I think trying to achieve all of that in one playthrough is kind of crazy. Like it's so big and there's just so much going on. But it does allow us to have like so much room for exploring different routes and game modes and playing with the AI in that kind of space as well. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to be done with this. But yeah, Hotel was a great map to work on as well. Like it's got such character.
Yeah, going back to the original actual question, I figured we really went on a tangent. It was fun. But yes, there will be planning, and it is planned and being actively worked on right now. And
yeah, for sure.
Hopefully, gosh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Hopefully, soon, as in like the next big patch, if all goes well, that would be ideal for us to have it there, because the loadout was kind of the first big UI thing. And planning and briefing is the next big UI thing that we have in the hopper. So
yeah, I mean, collectively, like as a team sort of mentality as well, as like we care about the quality of this game. We're not just gonna push it out if we're not happy with it. So it's something that we're actively working on, but we're not gonna just throw it out and hope it works. Like no, we're gonna make sure that we're happy with it, because we're also trying different ways of communicating this kind of stuff as well. Like we were talking about having drawings on napkins and blueprints and stuff like that. We've also even tried with having like a fully realized 3D city, where you'd kind of be accessing it as if you were potentially like sort of meta flying around in a helicopter looking down on the city. We're not convinced that works, but it's still, we've got it, we're experimenting with it. We'll pick which one works for us in the context of the game and its themes, and the best way to communicate these ideas of way as well. So yeah, we're definitely not sort of like just picking the first thing that comes to our mind and going with it. We always like to experiment with a few different ways of achieving the end goal, and really just finding out what works for everyone in every scenario, kind of thing.
Always a team effort.
Yeah, and on the same end of that, we don't want to like push things off for too long, because we also we want things in there that we want when we play too. So the planning thing, it even like with the loadout, things keep changing till it gets to a place. I always look at everything as kind of like the first pass, the first version. So because there's a point where like, all right, it works, it's functional, it's not it's not bad, it's got the things we want, it could use more. Let's get it in, because we want to play with it,
All right, we got a lot of info from one question.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so moving on then. Have there been any thoughts on creating some sort of system to indicate or hint towards the direction of the final objective? Because it's always a bit obnoxious when you're stuck trying to find that one last civilian who's running around somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. There's Zach is always working on the sound stuff. He's working on sound occlusion, and so if you hear a civilian walking above you or doing something like that, you'll be able to tell directionally where these people are now. And I don't know about the items, but I know that characters and hostages will be making noises through the walls and through the roofs and all this type of stuff. So yeah, definitely gonna work on stuff like that.
Is there any
sorry.
ideas for 4 items like the meth?
I'm not sure about the items. Somebody else will have to answer that. I just know that Zach is working on stuff like sound occlusion through walls, so it'll be easier to find, last suspects and last civilians and hostages.
I can probably jump on with the item stuff. It's again, we're nothing set in stone right now, but we've talked about a couple of ideas where, at the same time, we don't want to make it super easy for the player because we're just not that kind of game. So the idea of having some kind of HUD or reticle that kind of points you in the right direction, that's not really for us. So one thing that we were talking about at one point is maybe potentially like if you've been playing it for a while, and you're still struggling to find that last objective, we might have sort of like tangential clues that may or may not come in through the radio as a working example. Like we still want it to feel grounded, like you're in this scenario. So the idea of having any kind of like a HUD, I think, is going to sort of like take the player out of that scenario. So there's a ton of stuff that we can do with the walkie-talkie and the mic on the on the player character as well, where maybe there'll be like hints that come in, or just general chatter between the SWAT officers, like maybe as a working example, like on the meth house, it'll be like, oh, it comes in that intel, that there might be a meth location on the second floor or something like that. So it just kind of guides.
Maybe even the suspects yelling stuff out.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, like we want this to feel natural, like it's happening in the world, rather than that kind of gamified. If you want to finish your quest, follow the thing to get to your objective, kind of thing. So there's definitely a lot of things that we can do with this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, we want it to feel like it fits within the world.
It's just trying to find the balance of realism and practicality.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
And I can also say that there will be no like UI element that'll point you in the right direction. HUD is gonna always try to be as minimal as absolutely possible.
Yeah, we're trying to be a hardcore shooter, so that's gonna be as like minimal as possible.
Waypoint markers might look a little weird. At most,
it'll be context clues to really
in-game stuff
guide you.
Yeah, like sprinkles of meth on the floor. Something like that, maybe.
We've already got like tons of environmental storytelling, and I think a lot of like what would help as well is just refining that down. So it seems a little bit heavy-handed, but having a clue next to a light, it's a little bit heavy-handed, but it works, and it's a very clear visual mark for the player to go to this point. These are all things that we'll just refine the further we go down the line. It's where we are right now is we're just trying to like throw everything in and get it working and get sort of like the quality there that we want it to do, whilst figuring out how the game plays, where we're going to put these objectives, all these other different things that kind of stack on top of all that stuff. And then, we'll go through and refine that so it's just like the best kind of player experience that we can like get from all this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Like the bathroom, with all the meth on the shelves and everything. That's definitely an area you'd be looking for, evidence.
So, moving on then, I got a bigger one for you, Mr. 3D.
Let's go.
So, when you guys are actually designing levels, what balance do you take into consideration between that environmental storytelling aesthetics, just the way it looks in general, and how it actually plays?
Oh, that is a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head there when you said balance, because it really is a balance. Like, you don't want to have just like crazy storytelling on every single wall, because if everything's cool, then sort of nothing's cool. And at the same time, we are making a game. And with making a game comes that sort of like visual language for the player when it comes to orientation of where they are on the map, what's a surface that they can walk on, where they can go, where they can't go. All of these things are really important, not just for a level designer, but as the artwork that then sits on top of it, it has to have that visual communication as well. So that's something that I found is really just like the bread and butter of, making good artwork. It's not just about making it pretty and making it sort of like visually appealing, but it's also having that communication with the player of what is gameplay space, what isn't gameplay space, what's important, leading the player where you want the player to go to have the more story impact is really important for me personally. So you know, one of my favorite maps, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chat will probably agree as well, is Valley of the Dolls. That's a really good example of what we want to do more with our future maps, and also what we want to put in the older maps, where it almost like as you start playing this. Now, just to kind of put a pin in that, one of the biggest problems that we have with our games is the fact that you can have multiple sort of like routes throughout the levels. And that's also in itself a huge challenge that I have to overcome, where if I'm trying to lead a player down sort of like a visual storyline, depending on where they're going, if they can go anywhere, that becomes like really, really difficult. So it's all about sort of like creating the like these little hints, and you know, I love the idea of the players maybe not even finding everything first time round. It's all that kind of like you see it on the surface, and then you get closer, and you know, you'll read a note, or you know, you'll notice these different things on different playthroughs, and I think that's really, really rewarding for the player, as well as having these multiple playthroughs and discovering more every single time. So we really want to push a lot of that stuff as well. So yeah, having that visual communication of sort of like, right, it's really important for the player to know exactly where they are in the world at any point. We're probably going to struggle with some of this. Actually, we have struggled with this. I think Port was a very, very good example where I remember when I first started working on that, because the tiered building that you go into, the warehouse, a lot of it is all quite samey, and you didn't really know sort of like what floor you were on or what side of the building you were on. So there was a lot of things I had to do with that to sort of like make that very, very clear to the player at any point in the game, you know, where they were spatially. So it's not all about just making it look pretty, but, you know, just having a conscious decision there about, you know, something as simple as painting the walls a different color depending on what floor you're on. It's a very, very simple thing to implement, but it's super important for gameplay. And even though visually speaking, I'm like, you know, I might not necessarily want a green wall when the other one's blue, and, you know, I wanted that kind of coherency. The design is kind of king when it comes to that. Like, the design always comes first. So this is why when we're making our levels, we spend ages doing the block out first. You know, we really want to make sure that the space feels right, that, you know, the visual language of where the player can go, where they can't go, what is gameplay space, where the objectives are. And yeah, also using that to create the tension as well, because we've got so much tension in our game that the design is a real big impact on that. Like, if you're playing it in a gray sort of block out stage and it feels right, you're already doing great. But if you're playing that and it doesn't feel right, there's really no point trying to put artwork on top of it, because it's not going to fix the initial problem. So yeah, I work very, very closely with the level designers to make sure that when I put the artwork on top, it's also going to be serving the purpose from both a gameplay standpoint, but also is going to be working from a visual standpoint as well. Like there's definitely cases where, you know, I've turned around to the designers and I've been like, look, I don't know what this is supposed to be. Like, from an architectural standpoint, it maybe doesn't make sense, or, you know, we've got all this different stuff, and I'm like, wow, how can I physically put this in here? Like, it doesn't make much sense. So that's a challenge in itself. And, you know, half of what making games really is just kind of like refining ideas down to until you get the kind of core thing. So a lot of it's compromise, a lot of it's just like, you know, shoehorning stuff in to make sure it works correctly. But yeah, so to kind of go back to my original point, sorry for getting a little bit sidetracked. Yeah, like, balance is king. So it's not all about just making everything pretty, but what I personally really like to do is find these key areas within the map that creates almost like a cinematic composition, whether that be, you know, going up the staircase in Valley, and you get that beautiful, you know, sunset in the distance, and, you know, it sets a very different sort of mood to the player. You know, and then you go further through the level and you start seeing all these different kind of creepy clues and stuff like that. And then there's the notorious basement, which I really, really wanted to just like hammer home like this. Wow, this is not an okay thing that's happening right now. And, you know, the deeper you go, the worse it gets. So Valley's a really good example of where you can enter the basement from either direction, but I really wanted that like the shocking room to have one entrance where I was telling the story from a kind of like director standpoint, and the player was on that ride through that space. Now, obviously, the rest of the map you can go wherever. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, it's like we have these moments where if we did that room everywhere, then it wouldn't be as impactful. So it's not about just shock for shock value, and it's not about contrast just for contrast's sake. It's all about finding that right balance to have good gameplay, good visuals, clear gameplay. That's obviously the most important thing is if you can't see anything, then that's not okay. But it's finding that balance of these night maps. They're dark, which works for gameplay, but at the same time, we want to make sure that the player can see where their objective is and where they're meant to be going, and just kind of lead them around the level as we want, as intended, kind of thing. Yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I think like sometimes when I do a concept for a level, mainly I'm thinking about the aesthetic, not really the design or for like gameplay or whatever. So like just the how does it make you feel? And one example for that is Penthouse. I was doing a lot of the pre-visualization for that level, and I was kind of going with a modern look, kind of brutalist architecture, very neutral color palette with gray, black, white, that type of thing. And ultimately that sort of evolved into sort of a 70s aesthetic, and that type of thing is pretty common. A lot of the time the designers have like a better idea than what you had envisioned beforehand, and they just completely make it really pretty.
I got sidetracked on those burgers on dolls, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think Rapolio made an excellent point as well, where one thing that I can safely say as well is like, and what I would consider one of Void's best strength is that everything that we do is a completely open floor to everyone on the team. So, I'll be working with maybe Zach, the audio guy, and I'll be like, I need something here that's not working, or, maybe I'll pitch him an idea, and he'll be like, yeah, that's amazing, or, so it's completely a collaborative effort where I don't think we've ever had like a single individual level that hasn't had such a huge input from everyone on the team, where we've even changed entire art directions, as Roblio was saying. The Penthouse visually started off very, very different, and through the team's input and various different conversations, looking at references, even just kind of what we were feeling or what we wanted the level to feel like, it just evolved into what it is right now. So yeah, I think that's definitely one of Void's strengths, where it is completely a team effort. It's not like, me as environment. Like I never shoot anyone down in terms of ideas. Like I love like more ideas the better kind of thing.
Absolutely, and it's not just level design either. This is in every department, which I really enjoy. Like everything is a team effort, even in audio department. It's so understanding, and it's just an amazing work environment.
Yeah, no one really works in a vacuum on this team. It's pretty it's a flat management. Everyone just sort of like helps and pipes in and shares.
Me and Zach are always coming up with ideas. It's always amazing working with Zach and coming up with new sound ideas for the guns and how everything just functions in the game audio wise. It's just the work environment at Void is something I've never really experienced before. It's such a relaxed place to work, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I come from I started modding back in like 2004, so like working the modding.
Yeah, I started in 2012. Yeah,
it's so much like working on like a professional mod team. Like it's pretty
Absolutely.
awesome.
It's amazing
Or like my when I was working on like Insurgency, NWI, the like early the first Insurgency days, everyone just kind of has a role. Like everyone wears multiple hats. Sterling's not. He's always just encourages people like, oh, you want to try something, go for it. Like, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just kind of jump on that as well. I know we're getting way off topic in terms of the question, but no, like I've worked all over the goddamn place. I've been on various different AAA projects now for like 14 years in various different AAA studios and things like that. Void for me is incredible. Like just having such an inspired team that like we were saying, no one works in a vacuum. Just everyone is they turn up, they're passionate, no one has to tell them to do anything. Everyone's just contributing everything they can to make the best game they can. And that is just so awesome as a game developer.
Do you feel like working fully remote, like everyone in the company is fully remote, do you feel like that actually has any negative impact on development, or do you think it maybe even helps?
Absolutely not, because I've never met anyone in this team in person, and it hasn't affected my performance or anyone else's at all. I think it's redundant. Like, doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah,
for me,
for sure.
at least.
I mean, I can definitely see the other side of that, where just to completely play devil's advocate here, I get it. Studio culture is a thing. Some people are built to work from home. Some people aren't. Like I am, for instance, built for working home. Like I've got no problem. I've got my setup. I turn up. I crack on, etc., etc. But I've got friends who are just like, no, I need to be in an office. I need to go somewhere. I need to, do all that kind of stuff. I feel very fortunate to be working with people who, they just Void Interactive that you don't have to tell them to turn up on work; they just do it. And I would argue that the fact that we are all working from home and we're all in different time zones, it's a bit of a blessing and a curse. But the wheel never really stops. So like, what is my sort of like normal work hours? And I'll clock off and start having fun in the evening. I'll still be on Discord on my phone checking updates, and because I'm really curious about what the rest of the team's working on, and it's the first thing I do when I wake up is I check my phone what the Discord is, and I come on. So it's a blessing and a curse. Like it never stops.
Yeah,
but
there's no
it
clock
depends.
in, clock out time.
Yeah.
People will be talking, and I'll like roll over in the middle of the night, check my phone, and see like a message.
Yeah,
me.
I mean,
Then
people
I'll fall
pop in
back
and
asleep,
out.
but wake up in the morning and I
Yeah.
forgot that I got a message.
It's such a cool place to work, because you don't really have to worry about it. You just you see people in the staff voice. You jump in. They're talking about planning and everything. It's not really. It doesn't feel like you're working somewhere. It feels more like a group of friends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
it's what I was saying. It's like a mod team that's like a professional mod team. It's just passion based. Like everyone's just having a
And that's what keeps
blast.
us running too, is passion.
Yeah.
It's like it's the main thing, making something good for everyone to play and
I find
making
a lot
sure
of
it's polished.
people don't want to stop working. Like you have an office and everyone's going in 9 to 5, and then within 5's done, they're like, I'm out. Like I'm
Yeah.
checked out. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Here, people get to do it. Like if you you wake up and you want to do your gaming in the morning, and then you start working, like whatever it is, it fits your way, and so you feel more inclined to just work whenever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And whenever
100%.
the feeling strikes you, you just want to work.
Yeah,
And
and
it's pretty awesome.
especially because of COVID as well. Like I think the entire games industry as a whole had a little bit of shake-up during COVID, where suddenly everyone was forced to work from home, and like I was saying before, like that worked for some people, that didn't work for some people. But I think it definitely changed sort of like how we think about developing games now. Now, obviously, we've been going for a little bit longer than COVID was a thing. But for us, it never really it didn't change anything. It was just like, oh yeah, like our average day just doesn't change, like whether there's a pandemic going on or not. Like we had this amazing workflow where we don't mess around, we turn up, we work, we're passionate about it, and yeah, like it's not uncommon for us to be just working outside of hours because we want to do it, not because we're forced to do it, not because we're crunching, not because of any other reason than the fact that we want to be here and we care about making games and we want to make the best game we can, really.
Yep. And like we still try to keep it social. We'll talk a lot in dev chat, but also maybe just idle in a voice chat, and people jump on and just talk while we work. And I think some great ideas even come from that as we just brainstorm and shoot the shit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very exciting because a couple of us are going to Gamescom this year, and it's going to sort of be the first time we realistically meet collectively in person. So that's going to be quite interesting.
I had no idea about that. That's crazy.
Working remote also kind of helps it make it feel, when it's something you enjoy, it makes it feel more like a hobby than it does
Absolutely.
a job. because you're not having to commute. You don't have to wake up at a certain time that's super strict.
Yeah, for real. Like that's something I really enjoy about doing this. You know, I work a real life job too, and you know, I wake up every day after work, and I'm just like, damn, gotta go back to work. But you know, I don't feel that way when I'm working on this. It's like it's completely different feeling. It's like something I want to do, and it helps with you know, my part of being in this game is something I started out as a hobby. You know, it's a completely different experience when you're doing something you enjoy as a job.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, mental health is such an important part of, making good games. Like, happy artists make good games. So, yeah, the fact that we can pick up and put down and take care of ourselves whenever we need to, super important.
Yeah, you don't feel like you're just you're not tracking the hours. You're not doing anything like that really. You're just you just work like I mean to whatever works for you. And I know for me, sometimes I just need to step away from what I'm doing to
Yeah.
give myself time to kind of forget what I was doing because I stare at it so long that all I see is flaws. And I can come back to it fresh eyes. Or other times I'll play similar games and just think about what they do right and wrong,
Yeah,
and
that-
then come to
that's-
it whenever I'm ready. And
It's
it's
amazing.
hard to do that in an office because you do feel like people walking around being like, "What the hell is this guy
Yeah,
doing?"
yeah.
Yeah, I got you. I get it. But
yeah, and that's another thing. You know, doing contract base, you know, you don't really have to clock your hours either. That's something I really like about contracts, and you know, hourly salary is something I don't like logging. So doing
Yeah.
contract, you don't have to worry about that. You just have a set rate and you file it in and you get paid. So it's a lot better than having to clock in, log hours, do a timer, all this other stuff. It's just
Yeah,
easier.
for sure. And it's better for the game because we almost always work more than what we're getting paid to do.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's just you don't feel like you're like Sterling. I mean, he's our boss. He's the guy running the thing, and it's easy to just to kind of forget that sometimes. It's
Yeah,
just,
for real. It's like he feels like more just than a friend. Like he's just it doesn't feel like a boss at all.
so
He
you
just
just
feels
feel like you're like, oh, I want to do this guy solid. Like, yeah, I'll just talk about
yeah,
it right now and take care of this.
absolutely, man. Like that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
But I'm not the only one.
All right. Awesome. So let's keep it moving. So what are some of the biggest challenges you guys face throughout your entire time with Void, working on Ready or Not, or just recently?
I guess I'll go first on this one. Keeping my sounds up to par with current, generation of this game industry is something I've been struggling with. Modern Warfare 2019 has set a bar for weapon sound design, and I've actually struggled personally keeping my sounds on par with that, and it's just always a challenge trying to. I'm used to classic old Counter Strike sounds, and obviously we can't do that anymore because it's not really appeal with all these new weapon reflections and ecosystems we have in place. So that's my biggest challenge is keeping my sounds up to date and being satisfying to the ear.
Anyone else?
I guess I could go. So I kind of started or like got into the games industry when I was kind of young. I think I was like a junior in high school when I first joined the team. So it was kind of crazy just learning a lot. Um, like I had never done concept art before, or UI or anything like that. And people would just come up to me and it's like, "Hey, you're a 2D artist. Can you do this?" And I'd say, "Sure." I'd never say no. I'd never turn down what they asked of me. And I think that kind of motivated me to just keep doing better, keep learning, uh, just keep growing as an artist, um, especially in concept art. Um, I think I started that. I don't know if I mentioned that, but like two-ish years ago. Um, so it's been really cool just learning all these different techniques of designing characters and environments. Um, yeah, it's really interesting and fun.
Yeah, for me, I mean, we've got so much content that we're trying to produce, like, and we're a very, very small team. Um, I know, like, for so many other developers, it would be so easy to just kind of do a few maps, very, very simple, very, very basic, collect a paycheck, go home. We're not even thinking about that. We just want to make as much content. And at the end of the day, we're doing this for the players. Everyone who supported us has sort of made this happen, so we very much want to give that back. But we're such a small team, and trying to keep up with the quality of massive AAA studios who have thousands of people working on certain titles, and dedicated teams to solve certain problems. That for us, well, for me personally, is a really, really big challenge. Like, we don't, as a working example, we don't strictly have a dedicated lighting artist. Any of the lighting is something that I also do myself, and I know Sterling jumps on occasionally, and we all kind of support each other. It's not for lack of trying. The games industry is also in a weird flux where it's really hard to find senior developers these days. They've just kind of dried up. I think because of COVID and various things like that. So we're a very, very small team trying to make an astonishing amount of content, whilst also trying to make it as as AAA quality as we can, despite the fact being a tiny indie team. There's a lot of things to juggle, and trying to do all of that as well as have it optimized so everyone can play it. There's a lot of wheels turning. So yeah, I think like sort of like the biggest challenge for me is just trying to get everything out on time. We wanna keep maps coming out to the public as much as we can. So every couple of months, trying to take a level from grey blockout to a final finished state with all the visuals, all the new models, and all the new textures. Because we basically hand make everything. Yeah, there's a few things that we buy on the marketplace every now and then, and for sure, there's the QuickSa library, which is very useful to lean on every now and then. But there's so much in our game which is just so bespokely made. And yeah, like that stuff takes time, and it's a lot of effort, and it's great doing it, but that's a struggle.
Sweet.
Yeah. I know, like, for me, one of the things is it's just the game's constantly, evolving and changing, and so yeah, even the UI requirements. So what will exist with data that I can get, but also need a plan for data that we don't have yet that we want to have later on. So I'm pretty much starting from the ground up with all the different UI things, and trying to take the systems that existed and set them up in a way that I can use them now for new things, and then also plan for what we want to done in the future, in terms of like weapon customization or something like that. So trying to think about ways to present that to the players that are pretty UX friendly. I think one of the biggest challenges was setting up that the whole way the armor slots and munitions work, because it's you think you want to have that set to work on based on the weapon itself, but that weapon doesn't decide your carrying capacity. So we have to like really think about what we have available, what we need, put in requests for specific things to be supplied to us, so that we can set all that up and make sure all saves properly. Then never know, something might change and we need to completely rework that, and so you have to deal with the fact that people might lose their settings, their save loadouts or anything like that. But it's a blessing too, because when things are constantly evolving, you have the ability to influence the way they're going to go, the ability to change something that you've done wrong, or to improve something that just could be better overall.
Awesome. So next up, are there any plans for more graphic voice lines?
That's something I'm hoping for. I'm not exactly sure if it's planned, but I've talked to Zach about getting some of these lines more, graphic and vulgar, because during situations like this, you're not really calm. You're screaming, you're disoriented, you don't know what's going on, you got a lot going through your head, so you're not exactly filtering out your language. You're pretty much saying what comes to mind. So I think this is a good idea. I like this. It's something I've been hoping for, at least.
Yeah, for sure. But we don't want to be vulgar just for the sake of vulgar as well. Like, it needs to feel grounded.
Our we're gonna get a full complete overhaul of our SWAT voices, but that will come closer to full release, I think. So they'll react to the environment a lot more. You know, like they see something that's pretty horrible, they'll let you know.
Cool. Yeah. Some more graphic voice lines will definitely add a lot more character to a lot of the suspects, especially. So, are there any plans to do a rework of the HQ?
Yes, I can confirm that that is definitely something that we're planning as well. This ties into exactly what I was saying before, where where we started to where we are now. It's almost like two different games, and we're just not happy with the quality and sort of the layout of the original HQ. So we wanna tie that HQ into more of what our current vision for the project is. We've got such a rich story, and we've got such a uh, so much personality within the city and all these different levels. We want to inject more of that, absolutely.
Yeah, and also bring everything together in a sort of smarter way, because like right now, a lot of the rooms and like the shoot house is downstairs. Well, I mean the firing range is downstairs and stuff. So it takes a while to move from place to place, and kind of condensing it down a bit will I think it'll be a more enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There's a lot more. There's a bit too much traversal required to get to the different important parts in the HQ. So I think it's as long as I've been around, the HQ is always more of a placeholder um, for something better to come.
So, some of the maps seem to feel a little bit maybe too big or too much for the amount of players you get, combined with how much ammo you have. So things like Hotel Raid. Is this is there is this done for a reason, or is this something that's going to be worked on, or what?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is all part of making games. We'll never, no matter how hard you try, you'll never make it perfect out the gate. So a lot of this is just finding that balance, like I was talking about before, where we experimented with sort of like what the game was going to be, trying different things with different levels, and sometimes it works, sometimes it falls a little flat. We'll do everything that we can to effectively bring everything up. So not only does it look amazing, but everything should play amazing. Everything is a balancing act when it comes to making games. Everything is a compromise, and yeah, just got to keep polishing it, keep refining it, and working with the designers and certainly working with the community as well, and listening to this kind of feedback is invaluable. We didn't necessarily have that when we were making it, so we'll take all of this stuff, find our weak points, and 100% improve them.
Yeah, I also think it comes down to playstyle too. I know I prefer myself the larger maps, while there's like the smaller, more condensed maps. I think there's something to just having the length and more anticipation of what's going to happen, having to be a little bit more conservative with your choices, your ammo. So different challenges there too, and making sure that we have the gamut of options for our players, for the ones that do prefer those long drawn out levels versus ones that like the close quarters, very quick, smaller scenarios.
Oh, definitely, yeah, and we definitely love the idea of like almost like forcing the players to experience the game in different ways that they might not have initially thought that they would have experienced. So, having day maps, night maps, close quarters, long range, larger maps, smaller maps, where you've got to change up your play styles. It keeps the player on their feet, keeps it engaging, keeps it active, and yeah, it's all about just finding that balance. And yeah, we definitely want variation in our game. Otherwise, we just make 50 different hotel maps, and that wouldn't be enjoyable for anyone. We want to have as much, spice and flair to our different levels as we can.
Yeah, I think definitely having variety between small, medium, and large maps, and also keeping them visually distinct. Uh, you know, each having their own vibe and aesthetic.
Awesome. Yeah, it'll definitely, feel better as the game's development goes on. That goes for everything, though. Okay. So, how exactly are weapon sounds created?
Mostly sound libraries and recordings I've actually recorded myself and edited in post. Most of the gun volley sound effects are me fiddling with my guns. The SLR is actually a recording of my AMD 63 AK style rifle. The bolt is directly from that gun being recorded. But I also utilize a ton of assets from Universal sound libraries recorded by people that actually record weapons in a professional environment. I'm not professionally stable as able to record stuff like that yet, but I am. I have a little studio. I'm able to record volley effects and reloads, and gunfiring is not something I'm capable of right now, so I'm kind of utilizing what I can in that aspect. But all the handling effects and reloads have samples I've recorded myself.
Awesome. So, hold on. So, would there ever be the option to change a level's day or night cycle?
No, unfortunately not. So this is something that we toyed around with at first, but we found out that it didn't really offer a huge amount to the level in terms of like its gains versus its pitfalls. So at the end of the day, we want to make very concise, like authored levels to the best of their quality and to tell a story within these, very condensed kind of areas. Having that kind of flexibility of turning it to day and night, whilst it can be done from a pure production standpoint, first of all, it doesn't add a huge amount. And because we are a fully baked lighting game, so what that means is like most of our lighting is done offline. It's not happening in real time. Other than a few exceptions like spotlights and torches and various things like that. It's way more performance and it's also way more quality as well. So all of our lighting is pre-baked into the levels. Now, we definitely could do this, but what that means is that we would inherently have to either duplicate the level and treat it like its own separate things. And we're also tied with the technology of Unreal 4. So we're not moving to Unreal 5. We're way too far in production at the moment to go UE5. Like this happens all the time in game dev where, if you're middle of a project, you do not just switch engine. That's just chaos. Like you can't do it kind of thing. So we're going to, stick with Unreal 4, which is still incredibly powerful. And in a lot of ways, it's way more suited for what our game needs are than Unreal 5 is anyway. It's still very much early days for Unreal 5. So we have baked lighting and it's all very, we wanted to author it from a visual standpoint to tell the story that we wanted to tell. So what you'll find playing our levels as you go further on in development and as we start introducing new maps and tying a lot of the story beats in, is that a lot of the time of day within these levels is very important to the storyline. The weather effects, the time of day, it's all a narrative that ties into each other. So we didn't necessarily want to have the flexibility of changing the time of day because it didn't really add a lot. Realistically speaking, like we have day maps, we have night maps, we have dusk maps. There wasn't really adding a lot changing that per level, if that makes sense. Oh, we've lost him. Come back.
Yeah, and I think just kind of bouncing off of that,
Keep talking.
certain certain levels are like built around the time of day they're set in. So like, if meth were set in the daytime, it wouldn't have as big of an impact as if it was set in nighttime. And same will be for maps like school. Like certain time of day, certain weather conditions just wouldn't be suitable for that map.
Yeah, for sure. It is literally just the fact that we're trying to tell a story, and the whole gameplay mechanics is such a key aspect of it that if you start playing after time of day, kind of waters it down. There's more things to go wrong from a developer standpoint, and you're just not going to realistically get the quality that we sort of want from the end of the day.
So it's just all about keeping them as like looking exactly as intended.
Yeah, exactly.
Feeling
Yeah.
exactly as intended. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's not to say that we couldn't toy with the idea, but we would probably treat it as an additional after the fact and treat it separately, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think the day and night is a huge impact on the level design.
So I got a mod question for you guys. Will there ever be an option to enable disable mods in the lobby? Or is that something you just can't answer right now?
That's hard to answer for me because I don't know anything about it.
Sorry, we could just move on. We'll figure that out later.
I was hoping Mark would have something about that.
Oh, do you?
I don't know.
He's muted.
Yeah.
No, I do not understand mods. I am but a humble artist. I make things pretty.
Me too.
Different
Absolutely.
department.
Yes. If Ollie was here, maybe we'd have an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we'd need one of the programmers here to really answer that in terms of like what can be
that's
done
none
in
of
the
us.
lobby.
So, will there be a pass on ragdoll incapacitation animations and SFX to go with those?
Yeah, I mean, I can probably blanket statement answer a lot of these questions by just saying we're intending to improve every aspect of the game. There's nothing that we're shelving and being like, oh yeah, this is done. So yeah, anything that you can think of that you go will X have more polish or improvement, absolutely.
Yeah, to add on that, Zach and me were actually talking about some body drop sounds not too long ago. So yeah, there's something definitely in the works there.
I don't want to go too deep into detail, but yeah, like we have had some smaller conversations about it, and it is definitely planned. Like you shoot someone in a certain part of the body, and they'll like the neck, for instance, and they'll kind of drop and they'll wiggle around or something. Sort of like how
Screaming
Ground
absolute
Ranch does
horror.
it. Yeah, and like
Hit
you know, just gore in
hit an
general.
artery, blood
Yeah,
everywhere.
I've seen some clips that have been posted into of the way the ragdolls are crumpling and stuff, and things that might be coming. So
I saw a few people in chat asking about more gore as well, so I guess that kind of answers that as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, like we've implemented something that we didn't have before, which is the explosive vests. Naturally, that comes with the challenge of gore as well, because it's hard to not be gory when someone's exploded. But no, absolutely. It's one of those things where we don't want to just shock people for the sake of shocking. Like it's going to be realistic, and absolutely, blood comes out of people, and it's fairly gory, and we'll do what we can to deal with it in a tasteful way that really, again, it's all about player experience within our game. Just to kind of jump on the ragdoll side of things as well. So I know it's not strictly ragdolls, but there's one thing that I want to get a lot more of in the levels, and it's something that I am personally working on as well, is having a lot more level interaction. So, a lot more things that when you shoot them, maybe they'll bounce around the room, or burst particles, or it's always one of those key pillars from an environment artist of having movement and interaction within your environment to make it feel alive and lived in. And a lot of our levels at the moment are fairly static. We know about it. We're going to do something about it. It's going to also change up the gameplay a little bit as well, where maybe there'll be like a stack of papers on a table that someone's covering behind. The papers will explode when you shoot them, and then suddenly they're not behind cover anymore. Little things like that. It makes a whole difference to how players play the game and things like that.
Yeah, and I was in NDA, and I had a big conversation about interactive ragdolls interacting with the environment, like Grand Theft Auto 4. There was a whole entire conversation about that, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who saw it. I'm pretty sure a bunch of the programmers saw it too. So there's probably definitely something going to be working on there.
There is one thing I don't know. Again, I don't want to go too far into detail, but one thing we're kind of looking into is head deformation. So you shoot someone, uh, depends on the caliber, I think, and there'll be like a preset head deformation that happens. So like the head will cave in or something. Uh, I don't know. It's still heavily work in progress, but it's something we're kind of thinking of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have such focused environments that it definitely lends into sort of like what our game is, where you use Grand Theft Auto as a working example, where they're a massive game. They've got so many different systems and they've got so many. They have to cater for basically sort of like every scenario happening, and this is why a lot of it kind of it's amazing on the surface, and then it kind of falls apart when you put them in a certain scenario. Our levels are so focused and so tight, and it's so authored to exactly what we want them to be, that we can just spend all of our time, well, not all of it, but you know what I mean, refining a lot of these things that just brings the immersion way up, whether it is, someone touching a counter as they walk by. Not saying that we are implementing it or haven't implemented it, but it's definitely not out the realms of possibilities of just being like, yeah, we know where this counter is, we know where the AI is and what they're going to do. We can have that interaction and, just build upon it from there.
All right, great. So next up, what is your guys' favorite part of actually working on the game? Or like, what was your favorite thing as well in the past even? Like favorite addition, favorite map, favorite feature, something like that.
Well, for me is the satisfaction of getting those sounds lined up with the reload. It's something for me that's always my favorite thing. And working with everyone is also something I really love. Like everyone is, like I said before, everyone's just in a team effort here, and it's just an amazing environment.
So the
For,
actual the team then for you.
Yeah, pretty much the team, and I am really proud of my work on the guns in this game. Not to boast or anything, but I think I've done my best work I've ever done on this game.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. It sounds a little bit weird me saying this, but I'm very much looking forward to the future, because we've improved everything so much in the last couple of months, and we've refined our vision, and we've improved as people in terms of like how we've upped our skills. So everything that's going to come is going to be the best thing that we've done, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's so easy to look back in nostalgia and be like, oh, this is amazing because I did it. One thing that I will happily say is that we're always improving, so we're never stopping. So there's none of that looking back and being like, yeah, this is amazing, leave it alone. It's like, nah, the future's exactly where everything's going to be.
Yeah, I think my favorite part is, uh, seeing a character or a map being designed from the ground up and then seeing it finally implemented in the game. Um, seeing it start from a concept and then block out and then like all the art being added to it over time is really satisfying to see.
Yeah, I always like that. It's one of my favorite things, just to see how things build upon themselves and get better and better as they go. So levels, designs, it's always nice to, I mean, I'm usually just in like a UI test level where most half the time, anymore when I'm doing the loadout, I'm just sitting in in the station, just launching it, jumping the loadout, and stuff like that. So I'll jump in the game, and I'll just see how drastically a level's changed, and it's pretty shocking, but always really cool.
So seeing people always praise your work is like something that just makes you feel great, and you did a good job, and people enjoy it. It's something that is just it is unmatched.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I've got a very specific key memory where I was testing the game, and I didn't know that this was a feature at the time. But I shot through a door thinking someone was on the other side, and then I heard the groan of oh, and then the plunk as they hit the floor kind of thing, and I had to pause it, and I like had to check in with myself and like realize like wow, we implemented a feature that let us know we've hit someone on the other side of the door. Otherwise, I wouldn't know I've killed someone. And the fact that we as a team thought about it, implemented it, and it worked so efficiently, that for me was just like a that is so awesome. That is so cool. Like I want and need more of this in my life, kind of thing.
Yeah, seeing concepts and block maps going to from that like that to actually in the game is something unmatched too. It's just so satisfying to see something finally finished.
So the favorite part for overall is just kind of just seeing the entire game grow. Then, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I can. The problem is like with UI, I'm staring at it so long, and I'm so intently that I usually am sick of it by the time I'll push it out. So it's always great to see everything else that's going on around it, that just changes and grows, as opposed to just maybe my own stuff. Once it gets in there, because I usually am all I see is the problems with it. So it's cool to step back and see the other things that people put together that all they see is the problems with it, but it's all new to me. So it's really awesome, and it's just constantly praise going on in team chat when people would finally see what stuff's been committed and they're just blown away by it. This is so awesome, and it's always a cool feeling to see everyone do that to each other.
Sweet. Okay. So, moving on then. Are there any plans to add nonverbal communications, such as shoulder tapping and hand signals?
That is an
Yeah.
excellent question. It's something that we're toying with, but at the same time, we're not even sure how really to kind of communicate a lot of this stuff. So, for instance, if you're breaching a door and someone behind you taps on you on the shoulder, there's definitely like some trickery when it comes to like how do we communicate that from a gameplay perspective. Like, obviously, you're looking forward in your field of view. Um, we need to somehow like figure that out, kind of thing. Maybe, I guess, is the answer to that.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges with just a user interface of working in a pancake game or any virtual environment is there's a lot of sensations that you have to make up for that you would have in the real world, where you can't feel someone squeeze your shoulder in a game, and so we have to communicate that in a way that doesn't feel gamey or
screen shake.
Yeah, but then we're like, was that a screen shake? Is something more off on that level? And so many different things you have to consider to make it clear. I mean, there's no question about it in real life. If someone squeezes your shoulder is squeezed. But in game, we want to do a way to where it's just as clear if we're going to have it. Otherwise, it could get a little bit confusing and nonsensical, and nobody will end up using the feature that we might have spent a lot of time to implement, because there's a lot that goes along with that. Everything from the animations properly touching the shoulder where it's supposed to touch, depending on the height of that character, different things like that. But if nobody ends up using it because it just isn't effective, that wouldn't be really worth it. But I do know we're constantly looking at all those kinds of things and trying to get as close to that realism as we can, or at least the perceived realism.
Awesome. It would be that nonverbal communication would just be really cool to feel like when you actually get it going good.
Yeah, it would be awesome. It really could be cool. Since like voice, it's always pretty much one level. No one's really whispering in that. or trying to speak quietly. So I have some sort of nonverbal communication in the game beyond just maybe hand signals or something like that would be really cool and probably a first. But if we can't figure out how to communicate it properly, then it's not going to really pan out.
Like a wheel could probably work, wouldn't it? Like an emote wheel.
Yeah, it's just about like, so if you're the person whose shoulder's being touched, how would you?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
I think the best way to do that is a sound and a screen shake.
Yeah, like a pat sound.
Yeah,
on that speaker or something like that. But yeah, I'm down for it. I think it's awesome. It's just about
it's a good idea.
The user experience is there and justifies the amount of work that I have to go into like all the animation.
Yeah, and you also got to take into effect that it could be used against people trying to play the game like they want to. It could be used in a negative way.
Yeah, there's always gonna be trolls that'll do something with it.
So how many design iterations do levels actually go through?
It depends on the level. We've had some good luck where obviously we're a fairly small team of designers and environment artists where sometimes levels have just worked. Sort of like first or second polish out the gate just worked. Other levels, we're talking months just trying to figure out how to get it just working and feeling right with the kind of the architectural style and what we're trying to communicate to the player and where it's set in the city and stuff like that. So yeah, honestly, a lot of it is just, it all depends. Sometimes it just works, sometimes it doesn't. Stuff like, we're doing a hospital map at the moment, and I think a lot of those kind of like hospital, penthouse, penthouse is a pretty quick one. Those kind of like interior levels where you have corridors and set rooms and they're all based around like a certain architectural style, those tend to lean into development being quite quick from a blockout standpoint, because usually I just get a bunch of cubes where walls and doors go and I'm like, yep, that's fine, I can absolutely work with that, that's not a problem. You have something like Farm, on the other hand, where it's a mixture of organic and there's tunnels and there's these more like Spanish influenced buildings and like townhouse, sort of like country houses kind of thing. A lot more things go wrong, with lines of sight and just trying to figure out where and how things work. So yeah, entirely just depends on the level.
Yeah, I think like Gas and Hotel have gone through like 4 or 5 or even 6 iterations. Like I think originally when they were first designed, they were designed based on look and not really gameplay. So, I mean, they would look pretty, but it would suck to play through. Just the layout and the way AI sort of interacted at the level just
sure.
kind of sucked. And so, they were rebuilt, restarted. Yeah, so that's kind of explains why some of the older maps have gone through so many iterations.
Yeah.
So, will procedural prop generation ever be added?
This is an interesting one. This is something that I have spoke about before, and we've had this discussion. Probably not. Now, the only reason why this is it kind of ties back into what we were saying before about how we wanted to make this very focused, like set level where it's not a massive open world game where we need procedural systems to essentially fill in the content. It's a very focused, smallish kind of levels where we want to tell a very specific story, and at the end of the day, gameplay is absolute king. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't feel right, it's not going to work for us as a game. Now, the moment that you start implementing sort of like procedurality of even if it's set cover points, where let's say you've got 4 or 5 different places in the game in the level where we can either turn cover on and or off or change the kind of cover. It can be done. Like, it's not exactly against the tech. Like, that's fine. It'll reduce in quality a little bit because that means that those assets aren't baked. There's a cost that comes with that, with them being dynamic. And the problem is that it kind of breaks the gameplay a lot. Even if it's tailored like 100% for every single one of these possible scenarios. It's not something that we can cater for every single time you play the game and it gets randomized. So probably not. What we're more interested in is procedurally generating what the AI does and how it interacts with the environment. So instead of changing the environment around the AI, leaning into the fact that the AI effectively, it has a brain, and we want these characters to work within the environment. So whilst on one playthrough you'll have someone hiding under the bed, they might not be there the second playtime. They'll be in the wardrobe or wherever else. So it's effectively the same kind of system, but on its head in some ways.
Sweet. All right. Okay. So, are we ever going to be able to actually give like NPC suspects voice orders? Like telling them to move or walk outside or something like that?
Can anyone answer that? I don't think we've ever had that conversation.
Well, I was talking to Sterling the other day. We were playing a lot of Door Kickers, and Door Kickers 2 specifically, and we were talking about how you're able to sort of command the hostages to do certain things, like follow you, or run to the exit, that type of thing. So that would be kind of cool to have for suspects or civilians that have already been arrested. You're kind of able to command them that way. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, heck, if it makes the game better and it introduces new features, I think we can safely say that we're open to ideas and we're definitely eager to implement as much as we can within the time frame and within the budget that we have. So, yeah, maybe.
Awesome. It'd be nice to have the NPCs a bit more interactable besides just cuffing and picking them up.
Yeah, for sure.
So, is there ever going to be a single player story, or are the maps themselves kind of just the story itself entirely?
Yeah.
No
So
campaign.
a little bit of yes, a little bit of no. So it's not like we're gonna have like a traditional single player campaign kind of thing. Like the actual gameplay that you have right now is exactly what the game is, kind of thing. We're not gonna change that formula because that's what our game is. That's our formula. What we're doing is we're injecting story and its campaign almost like outside of that. So whilst it may seem like at the moment we have a bunch of random maps that have a bunch of random storylines going on, they are 100% tied to different story threads within the game. So we have like a prostitution ring storyline, there'll be like a terrorist storyline, so forth and so on. All these different drug smuggling storyline, etc., etc. So they will all tie into each other one way or another. So it's I don't want to say it's not like a traditional campaign, like I was saying, but it is absolutely happening as if like a campaign would play out with its narrative, with its like level progression and so forth and so on like that.
Counter-Strike Condition 0 deleted scenes is what I'm getting from
Yeah,
this.
you can sort of think of it as like I guess sort of like detective work, and you kind of follow a lead throughout. Like you start off with gas station, and like you discover something with meth is involved, and you sort of progress through that drug storyline. Same with the sort of trafficking or
Yeah,
how to
absolutely.
describe
Like,
it.
like so this entirely as well ties back to what we were saying earlier about the whole day-night cycle as well. Where if we take dealer and port as a working example, like they're on the same story thread. So yeah, you go to dealer, and within the world, we're going to have conversations and news articles and televisions talking about how there's a storm coming to the Los Suenos, and it's a little bit rainy, and it's a little bit more damaged. So we're kind of working on this as well at the moment, where we're implementing more of this prostitution ring, where out the back of dealer, there's a sexton and various things like that, and that ties very directly in with port, where you find evidence and you start connecting the dots as a player of, okay, so this is where these girls are getting shipped in on the cargo crates and things like that. So you go to port, and then we're implementing as we speak more of this rain, more of this storm. So that's going to be like actively happening whilst you're playing port. So it makes sense from a kind like a kind of campaign stand that you play dealer first and then play port. And one event after the other, and it all sort of ties into each other quite nicely.
All right. And will the sniper role ever be implemented?
I mean, it's definitely something I'm a proponent of. So I guess it's just about seeing where things go. Because right now it's about the core, SWAT gameplay of moving through and doing things. But there's always that on the table, that role as sniper. And it'd be great to be able to see him set up in different areas.
I think a lot of people on the team want that.
To look into the Overwatch and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely talked about.
Yeah, maybe for some levels and not all, because some of the levels just aren't particularly set up to support someone from the outside looking in, like for hotel, for instance.
Hotel, I was about to say. But that's something I'm in support of. That's something I've been actually hoping for, because I want to make some sounds for a sniper rifle for sure.
But yeah, like Dead Pixel said, we're primarily focused on the entry team and the SWAT officers themselves that actually entered the building.
Cool. And a lot of people really want that something like the SWAT 4 sniper that you get to take control of. It was really fun. Okay, so I think now we are good to start moving on to questions from within the chat. If you guys want to start picking out a couple and seeing what you want to answer.
I can have a look through.
I checked ones with my names and ones that mentioned me, and there's not that many, but I got one.
Go for it.
Casual Center asked me, can you describe the process for weapons research? Is a big focal point for players on how they are added. To my knowledge, weapons are added based on what NA SWAT teams use. Can you go in depth with that? As far as I know, weapons for the SWAT are relatively realistic, but the SLR appears, so obviously that's not standard issue for a SWAT team. So I think stuff that people want to play with, something that they want to see in the game and use. So the explanation I've used, it's not really official, but Los Sueños police have like a system where you check in your own weapon and register it with the police force. So that's the explanation for that for me, but it's not official. It's just how I go around with it. But yeah, weapon research in general, I just I got vast weapon research knowledge. I've handled a bunch of firearms. Got friends in the Marines that can relay information to me firsthand from their experience, and I own my own gun, so that's how weapon research goes in that regard.
It goes one step further than that as well. So we also, the two members that we have in the UK, which is myself and one of the designers, we took a trip up to the Royal Armouries in Leeds, where they have just hundreds and thousands of guns. It's kind of like the UK's equivalency of like a museum, but it's like the secret museum kind of thing. And that was an amazing experience where we just got to ask these experts of firearms, all about basically anything that we needed to know about guns, and we got to play with them is the wrong terminology. We didn't fire anything, but just the action of like loading them and reloading them, and there was so much about guns that like I kind of know, but it was totally different holding them. Like, I didn't realize how much guns rattled, or like how light certain aspects were and how heavy they were. And this is definitely something that, again, I'm not exactly part of the gun development on the team, but that was an amazing bit of research that we could bring back and be like, oh, hey, this is something that we never thought about. Yeah, there's a YouTube channel from Jonathan Ferguson, who works at the Royal Armouries. He did a review of our game, and he gave us his expert opinion on some of our weapons. He was the guy that was a curator of the museum. So yeah, we've got like people who know their stuff. We are absolutely 100% working with them to make sure that we get it as realistic as we can.
Absolutely. And to add on that, we actually have a guy from actual SWAT team in our development team that, you know, provides insight on what type of gear and what guns and what type of tactics and everything. He's provided so much information to make this as almost as close as possible. This guy is a valuable asset. I mean, he knocks everything out of the world. Everything he provides us is insane. There's so much information on their equipment, their tactics, their just everything in general. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I was just gonna answer a question I see pretty commonly about the school mission.
I was literally just about to jump on that as well. Yes, I would love, because this comes from Nicholas, I would love to share some information on the school level. So yeah, this is an excellent platform where we actually get to tell our side of things. Because, you know, we've had so much bloody controversy over this suggested school level, and it feels so like we've just been jumped on by the media, like Kotaku and various things like that. And it feels entirely unjust, because, you know, we've done nothing sort of like every stage that we've had the opportunity to be like, we're trying to be as tasteful with this kind of stuff and as tactful, and we're not just doing shock value for the sake of shock value. Like, that is so far against of what we're trying to do. At the end of the day, we're trying to tell, I don't want to say realistic stories, because I mean that's kind of the sad aspect of it, is that these are realistic stories, and we don't want to shed, you know, we don't want to just like aim a spotlight on it in a way that makes it look distasteful. These are real things that happen, and at the end of the day, we're a SWAT game, and we're talking with people who are dealing with this stuff every single day. Like, we have dedicated SWAT people in the chat that we're talking with, and some of the things that, you know, they report back on are absolutely horrific. Obviously, we can look in any news story and all the various shootings, and it is absolutely horrific. And these people who deal with this kind of stuff, they are heroes beyond heroes. And that's kind of realistically the story that we're trying to tell, of just how yeah, this stuff is absolutely messed up, and we should absolutely be paying attention to it because it's messed up, not for any kind of sick you know, gamification of it, or, you know, trying to shock people for the sake of shocking. It's like, no.
Quite absurd that anyone would get that out of what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. And, you know, having a school level is, you know, yeah, it's something that we're going to have to very delicately deal with in a tasteful way. And obviously, we are going to do our absolute best to deal with it in a tasteful way. But I think it would almost be a disservice if we shied away from it just from a little bit of social pressure. It you know, obviously, when was it Call of Duty that had the airport level?
Yeah,
my own
too.
Absolutely. Obviously, when that came out, shock, and everyone was up in arms and various things like that. Yeah, I mean,
but it provided a plot, and it really was a strong point of the game.
Absolutely. Like, we are all about that kind of like visceral storytelling, where at the end of the day, like, if you're playing our game, and I think Valley is a perfect example of this, where at the end of it, you're like, oh my god, and you have to put the controller down because you felt something.
Yeah.
That is what we are trying to achieve. Like, we want our players to feel something, and hopefully, like, in a we can do better as people kind of way.
Yeah, and Call of Duty is still doing this to this day. Modern Warfare 2019 had something similar to a kid being dragged away or something. I can't remember the exact context, but it was in the embassy, and It was terrifying. I had to kind of just sit there for a second. I was like, did that really just happen? That's crazy. It's crazy. And you know, the house mission with the baby in it. It's just mind jolting. It's like it's crazy, man. It's like people actually put this stuff in the game to make you feel like, wow, this is actually alive. This is a real like this is realistic. You'd probably see this stuff happening in real life. It's
Yeah,
not
for
there for
sure.
in a negative way. It's there to just show what some of these special ops and police have to deal with in this like everyday environment. This stuff happens every day for them. It's they have to live with it, and it's absurd. People think we do it just to be edgy or anything like that.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
I
It's
mean, we're
nothing what
tackling
we're trying to do.
we're tackling content that is just the realities of it are horrific. You know, I mean, it's just. But I think people do shy away from it and too much of the stuff, and having a sort of a visceral, sort of kind of documented experience that mirrors the reality of it is kind of what this game is about. And whenever people want us to shy away from doing this or that, it just blows me away because you've got it's been the thing in movies for forever.
I would say one step.
Scorsese is not he doesn't glorify it. Like
No,
the stuff is visceral and brutal and real, and it just brings something to that experience that's not about you know being happy that you're seeing it, but it definitely elicits the response of what the closest thing you can get to what it would be like to live it or experience it, and
oh yeah, absolutely.
and
Yeah, like
appreciate the horror of it, and that you don't have to actually experience those things.
exactly. And again, I'm so sorry for cutting you off. That's not my intention at all.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
you're fine.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that you're saying. And yeah, it's like honestly, like for me personally, it's like I find it more offensive that it's like pretending that this stuff doesn't happen, rather than addressing it in a way. One key distinction that I would like to make, because I did bring it up with the whole Call of Duty airport thing, is like I do understand the difference there. Is like with that, like the player was the perpetrator, like they were actively doing that kind of stuff. That's not at all what we're intending to do. We're there to resolve the situation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
That level in general is supposed to portray light on the bad guy in general. So I think that's why it's shown as you being the perpetrator. I don't think at all it was trying to be in a positive way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Valley again. I keep coming back to that as a really good working example where I've had so many people approach me afterwards who have done a no-kill run and they've arrested everyone and they've been super lawful and dealing with it in a an amazing SWAT scenario, and then they see the basement and they're just like, "Oh my god, this is horrible! I just want to go upstairs and murder them all." And obviously, I'm not encouraging that by any means, but that reaction of like, "This is so messed up," I'm having a reaction to it. You want to think like the real life SWAT people who are dealing with this kind of stuff, they have to deal with that every single day. That
And somebody has to go
like
through those hard drives too. Think about that.
yeah.
To go through all of that and look at it and review it. It's disgusting. It's mind-boggling.
Absolutely. And if we can make people better, like if people go, "Oh, playing this, playing our humble game, ready or not, made me want to be a better person because of how messed up humanity is," I will absolutely take that as a win.
For sure. Absolutely.
I will just say, like the Uvalde footage that was kind of recently released definitely had a big impact on me. It was really difficult to watch.
Yeah, agreed.
Just the seeing him actually like walk into the building was some
Harrowing.
chills. So yeah, like again, right now, like the school mission isn't like being actively worked on. I think it's still kind of in blockout.
Yep.
But we'll get to it eventually. And yeah, like the story is still being kind of figured out for it, how to best handle its presentation and stuff. So
Great. A lot of people have been asking about that, so great to hear a bit about it.
Absolutely, yeah. I've got another question asking about the lobby as well. Sorry, I can't pronounce that. I'm terrible with different names. I noticed the lobby has some hidden rooms and offices. Will you guys be expanding the lobby? Originally, yes, that was the plan. We were going to expand it to do all kinds of different things, but we've changed our vision. We've changed what we want to do with the lobby, and as we mentioned before, we're just going to completely redo it. So everyone's going to get a brand new lobby with a ton of storyline, better layout, all these other new fancy features that we're trying to implement as well.
The coffee machine staying?
Yes, the coffee machine will still
Absolutely.
stay.
Okay.
I see just one question that keeps coming up. This is for you, Mr. 3D. How can we expect the current maps to change, primarily outside entities such as static SWAT on Brisa Cove? Will they become more expressive, have dialogue with the player, etc.?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I suppose it's just kind of like this kind of gets lumped into the overall polish challenge of, yeah, we finish maps and we move on to other maps, but we never really stop working on anything, like I was saying before. So, yeah, all of this stuff is just going to get polished and refined, and anything that we can do to bring in more life, more movement, more realism, more interaction, absolutely. Yeah, we'll just keep going, kind of thing.
Let me see.
So I see a really good one here from Casual Sinner. What kind of accessibility features can we expect for Ron? Such as controller support, aim assist, subtitles, colorblind settings. I believe users point to The Last of Us 2 is an example of this doing well, doing accessibility correctly. This is absolutely something that we will look into. Keep in mind, everyone, we're still in alpha, and we've got a ton of stuff to do. We have already got this on the back of our minds that this is 100% something that we want to implement. We want everyone to enjoy the game, however it is that they, whatever support they need to enjoy the game. We will 100% be thinking about ways that we can, allow this to happen 100%.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
yeah, we're still early days, so this stuff will come, but bear with us, everyone. Like that stuff is a real challenge to implement because it does affect a lot of different things. Like we're thinking about like colorblind settings as a working example. It that can quite easily screw with gameplay, and it is something that we then need to kind of like implement, develop, bug fix, deal with very specific scenarios that cause problems and so forth and so on.
yeah, I mean the other thing is there's so much about the UI that's in flux right now. I mean, colors and fonts, they all could change because we are in alpha, and I don't really tackle that stuff until we're closer to the end because it needs to be solidified. Otherwise, I'll be constantly going back and have to adjust all of those things in addition to. And when anything can change on a dime right now, it's difficult. As like controller support, I don't like to make a single UI that'll just handle controllers and PC. I'm going to design for PC first, and then I'll design for controllers, so that because I'm just not a fan of the games that you could tell they made one UI to fit both, and they have to lead toward controllers, so you end up with this really big chunky UIs that just they look like they're made to be used on a TV 15 feet away. But they're all things that are definitely planned. Accessibility is key, but they've just got to come a little bit later.
Yeah, for sure. We got another loadout UI question from Casual Sinner again. Is there any progress on the ability to customize AI teammates visually?
I mean, yeah, it's not intentionally left out as far as any game design order that I've seen. It's just, I mean, as people can see, it's still using the older UI because it's on a different system than loadout itself. So that's one of the big things that's coming up is integrating it better in with the whole loadout system, and then being able to have that be part of what's saved with loadout presets.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. I've got one for myself here from I can't pronounce the other thing again. Sorry. Did you guys ever experience some copyright issues regarding some of the maps, especially since Hotel was based on the Millennium Biltmore Hotel? Yes. So this is something that with Nightclub we struggled with. I will hold up my hands and say I was a bit stupid. This was pure ignorance. It wasn't intentional or anything like that. Basically, the long and short of it was, and again, I'm kind of clarifying this because Kotaku took the wrong stance on this as well. Yeah, we had the nightclub called Prism. It was way too close to an already existing nightclub franchise called Prism, but spelt different logos. I thought that would be fine. It clearly wasn't fine, and I can kind of see that now in hindsight. That was a little bit stupid. And yeah, we were super quick to react with that as well. Like we obviously do not want to cause any friction with anyone, copyright or none. Like it's not our intention to upset anyone. So like straight away we were on that. We changed it all, and it was resolved within kind of 24 hours, kind of thing.
Yeah, I hardly even noticed it was gone. Like it took me it was fixed in a matter of seconds almost.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it wasn't like we were trying to be cheeky or anything like that. It was honestly just a little bit stupid. It's just I was like, oh well, it's technically different enough, but I can definitely see why that would have been a problem.
I don't think we were necessarily stupid. I just think it was unaware.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. Yeah, for sure. Will suspects be able to use hostages / civilians as shields?
That's an interesting one. I'd love to see that.
That comes from Raptor Joe.
I think that's planned for the future. Like how they would grab a civilian and then hold them at gunpoint and sort of use them as a shield. Yeah, I think that's definitely planned.
Good. One from Smashing. Control rebinding at the moment is not great. Will we be able to set up key combinations in the future, such as using Control or Alt to allow us to use single key for multiple actions?
I actually am big on key bindings. I'm left-handed. I use arrow keys. So key bindings is a massive deal to me. So that's something I'm always aware of and always trying to improve. Something about Tarkov that really is intuitive is the key bindings, man. You can pretty much bind those keys to do whatever you want in that game, and that's something I'd like to see in this game too. Because being left-handed and using arrow keys, and it's really cool to be able to bind your key to literally anything, any combination, and it works.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I like to do too. I also like to provide the ability to have actions that aren't necessarily bound, but you can bind them separately rather than having toggle options. So these games will have like a hold crouch or toggle crouch as a separate option, but I'd like to rather have it be separate binds if you wanted them to be. So you can have a bind for crouch and a bind for toggle crouch to use interchangeably. It's things like that. Just haven't gotten to that part to kind of do things in sections. So loadout took priority, then we're going to do planning. But it's always, every time I open up the settings menu, I'm like, I gotta address this. I want to take it on. That'll probably be along with the main menu pass.
Yeah. I'm just running away with the questions here because there's so many interesting ones that I really want to answer. I've got one from Neovox. Sorry if I said that wrong again. How does Void Interactive organize? Do you use something like Trello? That's a really good question. I like talking about sort of like the production of games. It's I know a lot of the people who play the game are not just gamers. Like people are in the industry or wanting to get into the industry or even making their own games themselves. So I always like to talk a little bit about this kind of stuff. Yeah, we use Trello. We don't use it exclusively, but for instance, I use Trello when I'm communicating with the outsourced teams because I find it like a really useful way of, having like an in progress tab and what's finished, and we can just like throw pictures in and have like a checklist. Super easy, super flexible. So I use that for the outsourced guys. We also primarily speaking, we just do everything on Discord. It's as far as like game production goes, we don't use anything like Jira or anything like that, which is obviously one of the big staples of game development, or Shotgun or anything like that. Primarily speaking, because we are such a small team, if anything goes wrong, we usually know about it. It's not like it's getting lost within hundreds of people and we're getting held up of production, or the game's not so expansive that there's a million billion different bugs. Yeah, things do go wrong, of course, but we're usually just like, hey, like, Mark, there's a hole in the level, go and fix the hole in the level. So I go and fix the hole in the level. It's like, so it's like super streamlined. Now don't get me wrong, this is not how games are meant to be made. Like, this is a very, very well-oiled cog like machine that we have right now. We've used different things. Another one that we use is Notion. We use that a lot for like the story-based stuff. So that's kind of like a repository of kind of like any information that we'd need on the game. So it's like, these are the feedback of the level. This is like the main story of the level. These are like things that we want to introduce into the level, and it's more like a board for discussion points.
Yeah,
like
my time being
planning.
here, we've gone through a couple, work boards, and usually it just ends up falling back on Discord because it's just easier. And making use of Discord's thread system they just added not too long ago is something we utilize as well. Sometimes these boards and these workflow websites can get a little confusing, and I find myself not liking them as much as when I can just go in Discord and see my work assigned right there.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Notions is good for like issue squashing, so we'll get like a list of issues or something along those lines. But overall, it's just sort of planning stuff. Very basic outlines. We also use workflowy to just quickly brainstorm and lay out some things. But it's just sort of like a combination of all those things held together through the Discord chat. And we'll just kind of link to something really quick if we would need a little bit more documentation or collaboration on it.
I see a lot of questions about regarding AI and stuff. So like I'd just like to touch on like for the SWAT and the suspects and stuff. SWAT we're looking into definitely. We're looking to improve them for next update. So we're trying to get them to be a bit more autonomous, so you don't have to like micromanage every single thing they do. So they'll sort of do some things on their own, like clearing evidence and stuff for you, I think. And they won't enter rooms backwards anymore, hopefully. Just looking to refine them a bit more. Same for suspects and civilians. Civilians right now, they just kind of stand in one place and freak out. And so we kind of want them to have a bit more character. And, interact with the world a bit more, sort of like how Mr. 3D was saying. And yeah, suspects, again, they're going to have some lot more animation work done. They're going to have some new actions like, taking hostages and that type of thing. So yeah, just all around the board, there will be improvements for SWAT, suspects, and civilians.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think it's
sorry.
I think it's about time we start winding this down a little bit.
No, I think that's solid. I saw
2-hour marks.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to give any final remarks or anything.
I would like to shout out Casual Center for throwing out so much, interesting questions, well structured, and I'd like to shout out to the mod team and the community managers for dealing with the stuff they have to deal with. They got so much to deal with, as much as we do on the game. So huge shout out to those guys to doing what they do.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to get incredibly soppy here and say, I'm grateful for everyone who joined us this evening. It's
Me too, me
incredibly,
too.
it's so humbling. We are incredibly passionate about our product, and it's so great to have such amazing support from the people who play the game. At the end of the day, as well, like you guys are also doing your equal part in the development. Like everything that you find that's wrong with the game, we're actively fixing it and listening, and we're very much a game made by people for the people kind of thing. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been a part of the Ready or Not journey so far.
Yeah, it's always good to see what people, and especially whenever there's a lot of things that we have planned that people start saying that they want, but they're already very much on our minds because we're gamers too. We want specific
for
things.
sure.
It's just
That
we have to
helps.
get to it. Yeah.
If people think that they just throw stuff at us and we don't care. It's like everything you guys say goes to our minds, and we have it and we write it down and make sure we take a long look at it and see if we want to add it and make sure if it's good or not.
Yeah. So many times also I've seen just people like, oh, I want this. And it's like, oh man, that's already in the works. Like it's already coming.
Yeah.
Way ahead of you on
Yeah.
Yeah, stick with us, everyone. We've got some really exciting stuff coming up. I know personally, like we announced Ridgeline, which is going to be a very different map compared to what a lot of the other maps are going to be like. Very cat and mouse, very different in terms of changing up the gameplay styles, and hopefully, again, story-wise and everything else that goes with it. Hopefully, we'll be able to spark as much conversation and bring the lore of Los Sueños even more so into the frame. And we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up, so stick with us. One thing I will say is obviously we're in development. We're in just past alpha kind of thing, and we're still making this stuff as it goes. So every now and then, it's part of game dev. We're going to break a few things before we fix a few things. It's nothing's ever perfect out the door, and sometimes we'll do an update and it's like, oh damn it, we fixed one thing, but that fix broke something else. Stick with us. We'll fix it. We'll get around to it. We're trying to make the best game we can, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff coming. I don't know if anybody saw that little mini dev update, but there's a loadout presets coming a lot sooner than you might think.
A huge shout out to the supporters too. Those guys deserve some praise.
Yeah. Always thanks to the supporters. They're they definitely they've helped us be able to do what we want to do at a good pace. It doesn't feel like rushed. We're very appreciative for all the support that we get.
Absolutely, those guys are important.
So we've got a lot of people asking if we're going to do more of these. Is that? I mean, I definitely want to. I think this is fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. There will be more, and we're going to be getting. You guys can return as well. We'll be getting some other developers too. Get people to meet a bunch of the Void team. So, it has been great, everyone. Thank you for joining, guys. Thank you for joining community as well. Thank you for all the questions. And it's been great. We will definitely do more of these.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Malone. Oh no! Help!
And that pretty much does it for their AMA, I suppose. They answered quite a bit of questions. I'm gonna probably end the stream, but I'm gonna leave it up and edit it later so that you can find what questions were asked. I have to go back through and like put up all the timestamps and stuff. But yeah, thank you all for sitting with me. I wasn't able to I was trying to play the game without any audio while listening in on the AMA. Man, that was a freaking bitch and a half, not gonna lie, because I can't hear where anybody is right now. But yeah, that was definitely an interesting AMA. They answered quite a bit of questions. I have to go back and see what they said though and put all the timestamps. So Thank you everybody for coming out. I'm gonna go and end the stream now and just edit it so that I put all the freaking timestamps. We'll see.